Hello everyone and welcome back to Evan Wall Media on Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube, we're back here with the Bandit Racing League, the home for the Holidays 100. Here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, it's championship night, the final race of the season. You're looking at the number 52 car right now of Jason Greenwell, one of your newer drivers to the league, and one of the quickest laps so far, quickest of practice right now, going to the 2 car of Nick Nickerson. He's on pit road right now, but one of your fastest drivers so far. Right now we're going to go ahead and bring up our current point standings, as we're sitting with 2 minutes left in practice. Hart Jr. sitting atop the point standings and atop the practice leaderboards as of right now. 635 total points, 5 wins on the season. Second place of Garrett Hall, all the way back at 606 points. So pretty sure that the 64 car is going to be able to take that title. We'll be handing it over to him after this race is over, after 100 laps here at Charlotte. But what's not guaranteed is second through about 7th place. Garrett Hall, Nick Nickerson, Brandon Jackson, Robert Mathis, Kevin Foster, Trey Ellis, all these guys very close in points, as you can see. So this top 10 in points is still not set in stone, even though first place may be run away with a little bit. Now we got a minute and a half left in practice. We're going to look at our times so far. Hart Jr. setting a blistering pace, one of the only Toyotas in the field. Nick Nickerson being in second. Now one of the things that I do want to go ahead and mention, right now you can't see him on your screen, he's just out of place, but 16th position right now in practice is going to be Marshall Moran. He's going to be a newer driver to the league. This will be his first race with us, and he will be running the 00 car. Now, similar to last week when we couldn't see the number for the 52 of Jason Greenwell, you won't be able to see the number for the 00 of Marshall Moran, but just know if through the numbers of the cars, if one of the cars does not have a number listed, that is the 00 car of Marshall Moran. 30 seconds left in practice. We're looking at the 52 of Greenwell. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 64 car of Hart Jr., your most likely soon-to-be champion, with the Materia Tattoo paint scheme, special Christmas paint schemes. It's one thing you'll notice here tonight. So most of these drivers are going to be running some special Christmas paint schemes. So as we go ahead and watch this, I want you to go ahead and put down in the comments section who you think has the best paint scheme. Now they'll all get shown a little bit later, some in qualifying, some once we go to grid and during the race. But as you see one, let these guys know what you think about their paint schemes. And go ahead, for the couple people that we have watching now before qualifying gets started, go ahead and comment down below who you think is going to win tonight's race. We got a lot of good drivers in the field. Hart, of course, your champion, most likely at the end of the season. We got a 2-time champion of Kevin Foster in the field, as always. We got Brandon Jackson, Nick Nickerson, a lot of really fast drivers. So definitely never know who's going to be able to win at the end of the day. The first cars on track is going to be the 19 right here, the NOS Energy Camaro of Willie Everham, heading out for his qualifying lap. And another thing that I want to mention, back again commentating for us, we're going to have Michael Campbell. He'll be jumping in here just a little bit later. And, of course, should have Brett back as always, race director. You see Willie Everham. Looks like he's taking it a little bit easy. First lap of qualifying. Let's see who else we have on track. The 52 of Jason Greenwell. A really fast car. Really fast last week. Last week was his first race with us. And as we're in qualifying, we're going dual screen. right now. You can see some of these drivers. You see Ricky Hart Jr. up in your top left corner. He's got his VR goggles on, putting his headset on, getting ready to make his qualifying lap. We got Matt Crockett, driver of the number 10 car. Brandon Jackson up there in the top right. Nick Nickerson, bottom left. Jason Greenwell that you're looking at right now, he's the one in the bottom middle. And then Kevin Foster will be in the bottom right as soon as he gets his video feed loaded in. So if you look at our standings currently right now, Robert Mathis just jumped up to the top of the board, sitting on the pole. Only 6 drivers with a qualifying lap down as of right now. Looking at the 69 car pulling in. Currently your second quickest driver. There's the 92 car, Tony Hilbrands. He's on his first lap right now. Here's Nick Nickerson, always a fast driver, heading to the top of the board. And Brandon Jackson. Let's go ahead and follow along with him as he takes his lap, heading into his cockpit. Up to 7th, now 8 on his first lap. We'll see how his second lap turns out. Did you see him shut him off? 4th position for the 99 car of Brandon Jackson. Just 40 seconds left here in qualifying. Only a couple drivers haven't taken a time yet. Terry Condis, your only driver now that has not taken a time. As you see, sitting in 14th position, that 00 car of Moran. See how he doesn't have a number right there? He is the 00. The only drivers on track now, and the only one that has not taken a time is going to be Terry Condis. With 17 seconds left, it doesn't look like he's going to have time to put one down. And that's going to do it for qualifying here today at Charlotte. Right now we're going to go to a special Gentlemen Start Your Engines from Daniel Stein overseas right now. And we'll be right back.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wednesday Night Racing for the Bandit Racing League. Mike Troops have a quick message for you.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
All right, good evening. Looking forward to what should be an exciting race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Mike Campbell here, joined by Brett, and I'm personally, for me, when I'm looking forward to a race like this, there's always an energy in the air when you're about to enjoy a championship race. There's so much anticipation, seeing a new champion crowned, and also seeing what these drivers do and how they push themselves to close out the end of the season the right way. So I'm excited to see what happens here. Of course, you see at the top of the leaderboard, Ricky Hart Jr. again, continuing to set the pace here in the league and grabbing the pole award, starting on the front row. Not unusual for him to run well at these 1.5 mile ovals. We'll certainly talk about his accolades through tonight's race. So home for the Holidays 100 should be pretty exciting here. Brett, are you excited for what we're going to see here this evening?
Yeah, I'm certainly excited. We've got, I believe, 15, 16 of the best drivers here tonight. We got some new names. We've got Marshall Moran. We've got Tony Hildebrands. He's been with us since the first race, but he hasn't run most of the races, so it's kind of a new thing seeing him back on the board here. He's second quick here, so it should be pretty interesting.
And give a call to Tony Hildebrands there, getting up there, starting second. Had the pole for a bit there until Ricky Hart came in and unseated him there. Best starting position for him this season. Best finish before this, start before this was 5th at Daytona, so that's got to be a boost of confidence for him. Already showing some speed early.
Yeah, certainly. Be sure to walk out for the typical drivers that we see up front, Ricky Hart Jr. and Nick Nickerson. But I believe you'll see a couple of the other drivers up front as well. Tony Hildebrands, Brandon Jackson, just to name a few. Even Kevin Foster, as of late, has been running really strong. Having a couple of top 10 or top 5 finishes here of late, as well as a win at Darlington.
Again, this is going to be exciting here. I keep thinking about the name, the home for the Holidays 100. This is the track that is well known for NASCAR. This is NASCAR country here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. All the race shops not too far away from here. And having this Christmas theme, seeing the drivers really jump on board and celebrate the holiday season here with us. I got my Christmas tree in the background here, so I'm right there with these guys. May not be in the car with festive colors, but got the Christmas tree and all the holiday trimmings here as we get ready for 100 laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway. About a quarter of the length of what the normal Coca-Cola 600 is. So not as much time behind the wheel for these guys as our real-life Cup Series counterparts, but still going to be a lot of racing for these drivers to do, and the possibility of a long green flag run. We saw what happened at Texas a couple weeks ago, where those drivers went green the entire race, and it forced some solid green flag pit stops there. We'll see how this whole race unfolds, getting ready for the pace car to make its way on the pit road here and get the finale for the Bandit Racing League underway. The field will be under the control of the 64. That is your presumptive champion, Ricky Hart Jr., as we get ready for the final green flag to start the season here. We're underway. The season finale at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Already seen the 64 break away a bit, getting away from the side-by-side battle there. The 92 fading back, and Nick Nickerson not letting the 64 get away from him. The car trips up on the apron there. We're still green here. Single file through about the first 4 cars. They approach turns 3 and 4 for the first time. They'll do that 99 more times here tonight.
Yeah, I think one thing to note here is Ricky Hart Jr. has nothing to lose. Just by taking the green flag, he's won the points championship. He's out here to win this race on the final race of the season.
And, you know, when you're in that position, that's really a relief for you. It kind of just takes that pressure off just a little bit. I know when we look at the real-life counterpart, the playoffs for the NASCAR Premier Series, we see that tension there because you have to win to get the championship. And, well, you have to finish better than your other competitors to win the championship, rather. Here, if you can get out here, get those key points early, start the race, you're already champion. Now, like you said, go out here and get yourself another W. He has plenty of them, and he's really shown his prowess here on these 1.5-mile ovals, racking up wins, countless wins, and top 5 finishes throughout the season, already clicking off some laps out front early at Charlotte.
Yeah, as we get it here early in this race, we're going to see these guys potentially make somewhere around 3 pit stops. If this goes green, they should be somewhere around 30 laps on a fuel window. So we should see these guys coming in around from 28 to 32 laps into this run. If it goes green, obviously if we have cautions, they'll be able to save some fuel, maybe be able to stretch that length a little bit. But should be about 25 laps from now when we'll see these guys come down pit road for the first time.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, and I know during my first race here, we talked about the importance of getting on and off pit road. Charlotte isn't the most notorious pit road to try and get down. I think we can give that to Dover for being pretty tricky to navigate, but you do want to be able to get on, off, and into your pit stall effectively here, especially if it stays green like this, because as you can see as you watch at home, the field getting pretty strung out here early, less than 10 laps in, and these guys have pretty much got a lot of gaps between one another, so the possibility of a green flag pit stop is real, and you want to hit your marks there when you do those stops. So right now, quiet toward the front. Ricky Hart Jr., I didn't mean to step on you there, just wanted to quickly note this. Ricky Hart Jr. and Nick Nickerson kind of beginning to pull away from Tony Hildebrands there. Started in second place, now back in the third spot as now the field at the front begins to thin out a bit. as we watch this race unfold here again. I talked about things getting a little bit thinned out. Gives us a chance to kind of talk about some of the other drivers here that have really had great seasons. This is a great chance to recap a lot of the great things we've seen in the Bandit Racing League. One of those is Nick Nickerson, who I think we can kind of say maybe at Texas a couple weeks ago, he felt like he had that one pretty locked up there until some contact with the wall really affected that car and relegated him to finishing outside where he expected to be. But he made up for it last week at Homestead, Miami. So kind of getting a vindication for what happened there and already setting a pace here. Known as a road course ringer, now he's showing his prowess in the 1.5 mile oval. So maybe talk about Nick and kind of just the skills that he brings to the table here, because it seems like he can jump pretty much onto any surface and be an effective racer.
Yeah, we always note Nick Nickerson as a great road course racer, but he seems to adapt to basically any track that we throw at him. Throughout this season, he's had a bit of bad luck as of late, and it's kind of cost him in the points. And right now, he's kind of running for second in the points. Obviously, Ricky Hart Jr. has locked up the points, but as of right now, Nick Nickerson's just out there to win. We won our last race at Homestead, Miami, but he's looking to cap off the season here at Charlotte.
Yeah, and you talked about that points battle there for second place. So that's still not wrapped up here. You talked about Ricky Hart Jr. crossed that start-finish line for the first time, started the race. He is champion here, but still some points battles there, particularly for the second spot, as only a few points separate the drivers of Garrett Hall, Nick Nickerson, and even Brandon Jackson. If something were to happen with those other two drivers, he could be in the threat here to try and nab that second spot.
Yeah, certainly. So here tonight, we have a very close points battle. We've got Garrett Hall currently in second place in the points. We've got Nick Nickerson in third. He is 7 points back. We've got Brandon Jackson in fourth. He is 7 points behind Nick, as well as Robert Mathis, 9 points behind Brandon Jackson. The cars that I'm looking to see really battle here tonight are the 13 of Garrett Hall, 2 of Nick Nickerson, as well as the 99 of Brandon Jackson. They're all fighting tooth and nail to get that number 2 spot in the final point standings, as well as try and pull off a win here tonight.
Absolutely. And watching the 99, keeping an eye on him personally, seeing him grab the third spot there. So he's slowly reeling these guys in here. And one thing to note when you're running at Charlotte is, as the tires fall off here, I think from my own experience, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm imagining things, but I imagine as those tires fall off here, certain drivers find that the older tires begin to suit their driving style. Maybe they're not necessarily fresh off the Goodyear trailer drivers where they like those fresh tires off pit road. You see drivers maybe 10, 15 laps in begin to reel in those other drivers, start catching people. I think we're starting to see that here with Brandon Jackson now up to the third spot, started back in fifth, so making his way through this field pretty effectively, closing up on Nick Nickerson for second.
Yeah, certainly. You mentioned Brandon Jackson. He's one to be able to run a very loose race car. He's making up some ground right now. I think some of these other guys are a little bit uncomfortable with the way their cars are driving, and Brandon Jackson just excelling here as he closes in on that from Nick Nickerson. Gets to the inside here and coming out of 2 as they run down the back strip side by side. Heading off into 3. You're going to see Brandon Jackson try and make a dive here. Potentially slide up in front of Nickerson. He does, and complete this pass as we go through 3 and 4.
That was a clinical pass there by Brandon Jackson, able to get to position here. And you talked about the handling there, the loose race car. Personally, for me, I like a bit of a loose race car. I want the car to let me kind of take some liberties and be able to wheel it a little bit the way I need it to run. A tight race car kind of holds me back here. So maybe wondering if maybe the likes of Nick Nickerson in the 2, maybe experiencing a bit of a tighter condition where it's not handling to their, I guess, preferred style. But right now, the 99 setting a great pace here early, now trying to rein in the current champion going into this race, and also our race leader, Ricky Hart Jr. in the 64.
Yeah, as we watch Brandon Jackson, he has quite a lot of experience at this track. He knows the line to run for these cars, so it's no mistake that he's able to charge here early. He's very comfortable with the way the track is going. You see Ricky Hart Jr. running up the track a little bit. Brandon Jackson right down there on the blue and white line here tonight, as they decided to paint this a blue line here for this track. But
well,
you can see
I
Brandon
voted
Jackson
for the Christmas colors.
Yes, certainly.
I would have wanted the red and green, but Charlotte Motor Speedway, they didn't want to go along with that, so I conceded. Blue and white is fine.
Yes, certainly. I think sponsorship kind of talks, and I think it says Tums there on the infield.
Heartburn turn.
I gather for this sim track. So I think they painted it blue, and then I think it's from Memorial Day theme, from what I
Yes,
remember.
sir.
But
It's
so
a
we
great
pay attention to Brandon Jackson here.
it's a great
He's trying
piece
to
for.
ease his way, close up into the back of Ricky Hart Jr. here for the lead.
I think one
As
of the
well as
things we'll keep an
Nickerson
eye
on his
on.
rear.
I think one of the things we'll keep an eye on is also we mentioned, I think, in my own broadcast, we talked about the recent rollout of the new 2021 iRacing season, as you will, and that normally brings some changes to the way the cars feel, drive, the way the air moves around the car with aerodynamics, and wondering how these drivers will approach that now that they've had a week to kind of digest that so far, wondering if it's working for some drivers, working for others, and seeing the power of the draft here. Still seeing the gap stay relatively the same here, if not dropping ever so slightly as the 99 tries to close up on the back bumper of that festively colored 64 car there in those Christmas colors there exiting turn 2.
Looks like we got a car on the wall out of 2.
It seemed like, looking back at my footage there, it looked like driver was exiting pit road. That's a 38. Having some issue there, Dylan McDonald, like he was exiting pit road there, just got a bit loose there on the exit and got into the inside wall, stayed out of the racing line, able to get back going there.
Yeah, didn't exactly see what happened there, but it looks like exiting the pits got a little bit squirrely on the apron. Obviously, you can't go 10/10 there on the apron. It's very flat. Tires aren't up to temperature, so obviously just getting a little bit loose there and having to lock it down, and he nudged into the wall there coming out of 2.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit as we were getting ready for the race or getting into the early goings here, is how tricky that pit road exit can be. And I think of any section here at this track, pit road exit, getting into your stall, or even the entrance, I think the exit is pretty treacherous there because it's very bouncy through there. The car is just constantly moving around, and you have the possibility of kind of skating around, as we saw the 38 do, around the exit as you're trying to hug under the blue and white line and also hit that commitment cone on the exit so you don't get a pit lane exit violation.
Yeah, certainly. I think Charlotte is one of the hardest tracks to enter and exit pit road. These guys are going to be running about 55 miles an hour down pit road as they make their first pit stops of the day. Had a few cars stay out. Looks like the 32 of Terry Condis as well as the 38 of Dylan McDonald. Obviously, Dylan McDonald had made a previous pit stop. He's now 3 laps down after that incident. You got Robert Mathis, who's taking the lucky dog. He was 1 lap down. Now he's getting his lap back.
We see Terry Condon sitting up there, currently scores the race leader. And for, as we talked about as we led up to this race, going to kind of recap and reflect on the season a lot of these drivers had. Terry Condon's had a solid season here, maybe not contending for the top of the steps there on the podium for the points as we get ready for the end of the season. But a great year for him, several top 10s, including a string of 6th-place finishes, including ones at Daytona, Auto Club, and Indianapolis. So he does have a knack for these high-speed tracks here. Hasn't quite gotten up to the position he wants to be early in this race, but right now, currently staying out, started in 17th, now scores a race leader.
Yeah, I haven't really caught on to which tracks Terry Condis has been consistently good at. He's kind of one of those drivers that could be good at tracks that many other drivers really aren't, and it kind of shows at certain tracks where he's able to run up front.
Absolutely. We see him now yield and get ready to head to pit road here. So maybe just getting some points, getting those laps led. And I think when we talk about points and you see a championship like the one held and ran through this season, like the one by Ricky Hart Jr., every point matters. And being able to even just lead a lap under caution and coming down to pit road, very important. And you see when you're able to come into a race like this and clinch a championship merely by starting the race, it shows that you've been able to rack up points in an effective way. And as we get ready for next season, hopefully some of these drivers are able to kind of learn from that and bring that experience to the race as well, being able to rack up points on a consistent basis to get themselves in the points picture. But seeing Terry come back off pit road here, always a story. I always talk about how important it is to get those points, even if it's just 1 or 2. You never know how vital they'll be as you get ready to try and go for a championship at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think as we move into a new season, just having the experience of previous seasons, some of these drivers had run previously with us in prior seasons. I think it just creates that awareness each race that they need to go out and get every point that they can, be able to take down the drivers like Nick Nickerson and Ricky Hart Jr. on a consistent basis. So that's kind of one of the keys to kind of clinching a championship, is just being able to get the points when other people are not able to.
Absolutely. And you talk about consistency, and that is the key word there, consistency. We talked about Ricky Hart Jr., and he's been incredibly consistent this season. When I look back at his numbers, sat down, got a drink, and kind of just broke down some of the numbers to get ready for tonight's race. I mean, he collected 6 wins, and his worst finish this season was 7th. That came last week at Homestead, Miami. But when you look at that, he's just been incredible here across this season. During the season, he got at least a 3rd place finish on every type of track discipline, including road courses, short tracks, 2-mile ovals. And when you look at his performance on 1.5 and mile tracks, 4 wins, and then also winning at Daytona and strong top 5 performances on road courses. So that shows you he was able to rack up so many points there and also lead a lot of laps too. Those add up as you go through a season, even a relatively short season like the one we're in here, only just over a dozen races. Those points add up very quickly.
Certainly, he was able to rack up a ton of wins early in the season and then just use that consistency for it to be able to pay off late in the season. As other drivers got their wins in, he was able to just maintain his consistency and pull ahead in the points over some of the other drivers. They're all currently in 2nd in points, Nick Nickerson in 3rd. They've been very, very up and down, I would say, over the course of this season. Nick Nickerson has pulled off a few wins this season, but he's had his share of woes as well. He's had a couple pit road incidents. I remember he's gotten in a few crashes as well. So it's not been a perfect season. It's kind of what's culminated to the end here as far as who ended up being the points championship or points champion.
Well, getting ready for the restart here at Charlotte, coming to lap 23, it's going to be Ricky Hart Jr. as the race leader. Picking the outside line this time on the inside will be Nick Nickerson, Brandon Jackson, Tony Hilbrens, and Trey Ellis as we get back underway at Charlotte. Great jump for the 64 on that restart, opting for the outside line, drops down and goes toward the low side as we get ready to reapproach turns 1 and 2. Seeing a battle develop on the outside between the 99 and also looks like Mr. Hilbrand's back there in the 92, not able to maintain the spot. 3rd spot falls and goes to the hands of Brandon Jackson, who sets his sights on Nick Nickerson going in 3. So we're already seeing these drivers kind of settle in here as we see more contact toward the back there. A bit of a crash happening back of the field there, looks like. Putting us back under the yellow flag here.
Have another yellow. Yep. One of the cars involved, the 93 of Alan Castle, as well as the 38 of Dylan McDonald.
Yeah,
Dylan McDonald was involved in the early wreck, exiting pit road. Looks like the two got together here. We'll see exactly what went down. So I had 3-1 and 2. I believe they were unscathed 3-1 and 2 from what I can tell, but I think our whole action here was in 3 and 4.
Yes.
So we looks like the 93 got a little bit high and had to kind of stay off the wall, and it allowed Dylan McDonald to get to his inside, and they kind of got stuck together a little bit and ended up with Dylan McDonald in the wall.
Yeah, looks like a rough night continues for Dylan McDonald in the 38, now 5 laps down. We saw what happened earlier. Had a bit of a ride there, exiting the pit road early in the race, putting us on the yellow for the first time this evening. Now on pit road again, getting that car fixed up and likely ending his night. That was a hard impact there with the outside wall in the middle of turns 3 and 4, putting us back under the yellow flag here at Charlotte. So right now, not much change toward the front here. Still your race leader, Ricky Hart Jr. back in the front position. Nick Nickerson maintaining 2nd spot. Brandon Jackson, Tony Hilbrand, and Trey Ellis rounding out the top 5. Kevin Foster, haven't said much about him. He is our defending champion coming in here. Will relinquish the title to Ricky Hart Jr. at the end of tonight's race. Jason Greenwell, Willie Everham, Matt Crockett, and Marshall Moran rounding out the top 10 here. So we're getting ready and sitting under caution here. So it always is nice to kind of look ahead to the season. And for you, Brett, what are you looking forward to as we conclude the season here and set our sights on the next season of the Bandit Racing League? What are you excited for?
Well, I think next season I'm really excited about the new crop of drivers we might be having next year. We'll be doing some recruiting races here during the off season, as well as having a little bit of exhibition races as well. We'll be trying to recruit new members, ultimately building our base, and hopefully we can get a stable crop of drivers here. But we've already got some, but we're always looking for more.
It seems like you do have a great core of drivers here, and when you have a great core and drivers who know one another and race well against each other, it really heightens the quality of the racing. You see great side-by-side battles. You see great duels for wins and position on the track. But then when you add new drivers in the mix as well, it can raise the level of competition in the league as well, forcing these drivers to up their game even more and push themselves to be even better than they are right now. So it should be exciting this season. If I'm not mistaken, we'll be transitioning to the Xfinity cars. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, we'll be moving to the Xfinity series. They'll have a slightly different aero package, as well as they'll have a little bit less, about the same horsepower, I believe, but they'll have a little bit less downforce, and it might present some more action over these cars.
I think it's always interesting when you change vehicles and you're switching up kind of what you're used to driving here. We talk about forcing the drivers to raise the bar, forcing yourself to adjust and change the way you approach these cars, because as you mentioned, the Xfinity cars, that Chevrolet, Ford, and Toyota combo, they do drive a little differently. They have a bit of a different aero package. They have a bit of different feel to them when you're behind the wheel, just like if you go down to the truck series as well. So it'll be great to see in those first few races. Of course, Daytona is kind of that mulligan race. Everyone has a chance there. The cars behave generally the same. When you start going to the true intermediate tracks, the short tracks, I think that's where you're going to start seeing these drivers have to adapt and really get used to the handling here, because as you know, many of these drivers maybe spend more time in the Cup cars, which we're watching right now, than they do in the lower series with, say, the Xfinity or the trucks. So that might be some time for them to reacclimate themselves, get back used to driving the Xfinity cars as opposed to driving these higher horsepowered Cup cars.
Certainly, with the Xfinity cars, a lot less downforce, same amount of power, but on the tracks that are generally slick, I think you're going to see a lot of variance between who is very comfortable with driving those cars as well as the ones who are not. So I think that's going to be one thing to keep an eye on, as everybody is going to be running each one of the manufacturers. I believe there's the Toyota Supra, the Ford Mustang, as well as the Chevrolet Camaro in the Xfinity series. So we'll see how each of these aero packages kind of culminates into exciting racing next season.
It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to being here for that action. I didn't realize we were going to Xfinity until I really dove into the schedule. And I saw that, I was like, yes. I personally love the Xfinity cars. They are such unique machines, and I've gotten some solid victories at a track like this. The sister track to Charlotte, Texas Motor Speedway, had some great races here on the official lobbies in iRacing. So looking forward to see what these guys do here in the Bandit Racing League when they transition down to the Xfinity cars come next season. Right now, the matter at hand is the Cup cars here at Charlotte, the home for the Holidays 100 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, getting ready for another restart here. Ricky Hart Jr. opting for the outside line, much like he did on the last restart. On the inside, Nick Nickerson, Brandon Jackson behind him in third, and then Tony Hilbrand's back and forth, and Kevin Foster in fifth, Trey Ellis, Jason Greenwell, Willie Everham, Matt Crockett, and Marshall Moran rounding out the top 10 as we get ready to go back green. As we wait for the pace car to make its move, and it has. We'll see if the green flag runs begin to flow in here. We'll see how everything shakes out as the field is back under the control of the 64 car. The restart underway here at Charlotte, approaching 1/3 of the way through this 100-lap feature. Another solid restart there by the 64, seeing the advantage of the outside line. They're able to get the jump, come back down, and get back to the bottom to protect the run there. Single file through the front three cars as the 99 is able to get the spot back and get the third position and try and track down the 2 car on the approach to turn 3. Single file now through this group as they exit turn 4. A driver I haven't thought about much and haven't seen much during this race now beginning to creep into the picture here. The 19 of Willie Everham, one of my favorite drivers to talk to when we're in the Discord lobbies. Great guy, having a great run here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, working past Trey Ellis there, entering turns 1 and 2, grabbing the spot there, looking fast early after starting 15th, already working his way into the top 5.
Yeah, certainly we saw these guys pit the first time after the first caution, so we're able to see some of these guys take newer tires. Some of these guys are still running on their old tires. I believe they'll have somewhere around 30 laps on their tires now, but I think you'll see some comers and goers here, especially late in this run when you see these tires start wearing out and these guys are able to have to get out of the gas and just really kind of wrangle their cars and make sure that they're able to hang on here for the length of this run.
It's phenomenal watching the 19 here doing a great job using the outside line now. We've seen the low line be the preferred line so far during this race, but right now 2 passes already by the 19 car, cutting his way through this field, getting great track position using the outside line, drops down in front of the 2 car, exiting 2. That moves him up into the 3rd spot, and he's finding speed early here as we approach 1/3 of the way through the Home for the Holidays 100. Great race so far for Willie Everham. Best finish so far this season, 3rd at Martinsville. Known as one of those guys who's phenomenal at the short track, someone you can never count out when you go to the likes of Martinsville or many other tracks. Myrtle Beach, one of his favorite tracks as well, showing his prowess here at the 1.5 mile ovals, working the outside line, working to get the spot away from the 99 of Brandon Jackson. They'll duel down the backstretch going into turns 3 and 4. Great racing so far as the 19 works the high line now, looking to challenge the champion. The 64 Ricky Hart Jr. will grab the spot and go to the point. So don't look now. The 19 is taking his claim at least early to the lead here on lap 34.
Yep, I think one of the things we'll have to keep an eye on is the whole pit strategy deal. We'll have, like I said, we'll have some drivers on new tires and drivers on old tires. So I think right here we're seeing the 19 of Willie Everham make use of his new tires, trying to pull away from the field, hoping that it goes green, and inevitably just have a big enough gap that when he has to manage his old tires and everybody else has to take new tires, that he'll have a gap and he'll be able to maintain that later in the race.
It's really just a game of chess at like 180 miles an hour here on iRacing. You're thinking of ways to outwit and outplay your competition, going for the undercut, as I like to think of it when I watch V8 Supercars or Formula One, going for the undercut here, trying to get tires on that car early and get a great lead here, already about 7/10 ahead, as now the 99 and the 64 are engaged in a battle back there crossing the start-finish line. These two have been dueling with each other for about the last couple of laps here. This is about for the 2nd spot, and it looks like the 99 will prevail here, at least for a time on the inside. Not able to get a run back is the 64, falling back to 3rd spot. So right now about a second between these this group of 2 cars, the 99 and 64, and the race leader, Willie Everham, having a great run so far here this evening, setting a good pace early, as we talked about a second ago. Different tire strategy here likely coming into play as he continues to build the lead, now crossing over the 1 second mark, fluctuating between about a 9/10 to 1.1 seconds between himself and 2nd place Brandon Jackson, Ricky Hart Jr., and then Nick Nickerson. Kevin Foster is having a quiet run back in the 5th position. Another one of those drivers, your defending champion, running solidly in the 5th position. I think when we talk about drivers who are, you call them veterans, veteran talent, very knowledgeable behind the wheel, able to get behind the wheel of anything and run well. Kevin Foster, you open the dictionary, that definition, you see his picture right next to it, and he's showing it right here, lap 38, running in the 5th position, started back there in 10th, so already gained 5 spots. Great season so far for him. Talk about when you, Kevin Foster, what do you think of his performance so far during the season of the Bandit Racing League?
He was able to grab an early win here at Darlington, mostly on fuel mileage, but he's one of those types of drivers that he lives and dies by the long run. He likes to make a real race of it, especially late in the race. He likes to manage his tires. He likes to save fuel. He likes to play a little bit of trickery and try and outthink the rest of the drivers. He's one of those types of drivers that doesn't always rely on his skill to make moves. He relies on his mental acuity to be able to ultimately end up in top 5 or potentially win late in races.
Yeah, he's had a great season. You mentioned that win at Darlington. A fantastic season for him overall. May not have been as high in the points as maybe he wanted to, but again, you cannot scoff at having a great season like he's had so far here in the Bandit Racing League. And when I look at Kevin, I look and I see calmness behind the wheel. He's one of those drivers where it doesn't sound like he's very rattled when he's in challenging situations, and based on his performance here so far this season has been, like you mentioned with some of the drivers, a bit up and down, but when he's able to run well, he does run well. He does have that win at Darlington and a string of top 5s and top 10s, and even finished second last week at Homestead, Miami, and got a 5th place finish back at Texas. So right now on a solid run of top 10s. If you note, he's on a top 10 streak that goes all the way back to his win at Darlington. So he kind of turned it on toward the end here. We talked about drivers getting points on him maybe earlier in the season with some weaker finishes back at Martinsville 10th, Phoenix 15th, and Auto Club 15th. Maybe those finishes kind of holding him back a bit, but getting a great run toward the end of the season, you can certainly carry that momentum into next season as well. So plenty to be proud of for our defending champion, Kevin Foster. But back at the front, building the lead, still adding tenths of a second here and there every few laps. Willie Everham, right now 1.4 seconds ahead of Brandon Jackson, setting the pace here on those newer tires as Brandon Jackson back in the 99 car trying to track down that machine ahead of him. About 1.3 now between those two drivers.
Looks like we got a few drivers coming down pit road before Trailis has entered pit road. Hitting from, I believe, the 11th position.
He was just outside the top 10 down in 11th, bringing that fantastic paint scheme down. It looks like a Christmas story, one of the Christmas classics. I'm certain I'll be watching that sometime during my vacation from work. So always awesome to see these cars get down and get behind the special themes here. And I love Christmas, so it's great to see that.
Yeah, certainly. You'll notice, obviously, we mentioned earlier, a lot of these guys running holiday paint schemes. You'll see some of them decorated red, white, and green, obviously. So I think it's just one more thing that our series tends to bring that many other series don't. We like to have a little bit of fun. We like to make the races a little bit more interesting. So we tend to make paint schemes that have themes to them, and we change it each week, and it kind of just promotes the racing a little bit better.
That's fantastic. And speaking of fun, a little further back in the field there around the 6th position, some drivers were having fun for track position. 3 cars engaged in a battle. That was Robert Mathis, Tony Hilbrand, and Jason Greenwell, all fighting for that 6th spot there. Coming out victorious was the 29 of Robert Mathis, who has had a good season for him as well. Maybe not quite what he's looking for, still trying to search for that elusive first win. Got so tantalizingly close at Talladega, finishing second there. Right now, sitting back in the 6th position, about 6 seconds back of the race leader. So we'll see if he's maybe able to put something together, or if he needs a caution to try and get a little close to this field here. But right now, able to get the position on a couple of drivers, moving him into the 6th position, sets his sights on the 2 car of Nick Nickerson.
Yeah, Robert Mathis is one driver that I've seen. I'd say he's probably the most improved over this whole season. Beginning there early, didn't know if he was just not comfortable with the cars or not. Maybe made a few errors there early, but it seemed like every single race he always gets better and better, and now he's consistently a top 5 runner here in the series.
As we barrel quickly toward lap 50, the halfway point of this race, you talked about the challenges that Mr. Mathis faced as he came into this race, as this series rather, maybe not getting the performance he wanted. The other side of that is sometimes just getting around other drivers, observing them. Seat time is one thing, but seat time with drivers who really have an understanding for these cars is great too. You kind of learn that through osmosis as you're racing around them. You see what your competitors are doing, and you learn from that. You're taking mental notes to get yourself better here. And as you said, getting position here at this race has improved his performance so far through the season, and now is showing it toward the end here, hoping he's able to carry that toward the Xfinity cars next season.
Yeah, one of the biggest things just in these sim environments is just getting enough laps. The more laps you can do, obviously the better you're going to get. And there is no replacement for experience in these types of cars. So anything you can do to just get more laps, and it will just make you faster, make you more consistent, and obviously you'll finish better if you can do both of those things.
Absolutely, and one of the drivers we talked about a moment ago, Kevin Foster, continuing to march his way through the top 5 here, able to grab track position on both Nick Nickerson and Kevin Hart Jr., likely taking advantage of some fresher tires there, working his way into the 3rd spot. Now he will try and track down Brandon Jackson, who's about 2.5 seconds ahead of him as they cross the start-finish line here. And again, your leader, Willie Everham, 1.5 seconds ahead of Brandon Jackson, hasn't really been able to build that lead probably as much as he wants to, and it's hovered around 1.4 to 1.5 seconds so far, so maybe he's going to try and get some more pace here as we go through this run, but maybe not building as quick as he wanted to as we go through this long green flag run.
Yeah, I'd like to say I'd be able to predict what's going to happen here late, but I really have no idea. I'm not exactly sure which cars are on what strategy right now, and but I think you're seeing the speed of Brandon Jackson pay off. He's maintaining the gap with Willie Everham. I believe Willie Everham's on new tires, Brandon Jackson potentially on older tires. Kevin Foster, as we have a caution there on the speedway
here, and seems like we got some drivers coming to pit road as well during that. Nick Nickerson, Tony Hilbrands, Matt Crockett, and Wesley Fuller among those drivers who were on pit road at the time of that caution.
Yeah, certainly that's going to really shake up things here when they cycle through. So I think we'll see some of these guys come down pit road, as well as some of these drivers stay out. See how it all cycles through and who ends up here at the front of this field when everybody makes their pit stops.
And kind of looking at the scoring here, looks like potentially the incident involved a 4 and a 32 there. So going to see what happened there. I looked at the loops there. I saw like 2 dots intersecting there. So potentially some contact there between the 4 and the 32 on the approach to turns 1 and 2. And we should be getting that replay up for you. We'll see exactly what happened there. As again, we mentioned as that incident was unfolding, seeing some of our leaders coming to pit road.
Yeah, we saw Trey Ellis there spinning into the infield. He was one of those drivers that had to pit early. I believe he was on a different pit sequence than many of the others. He pitted early, but we'll have to see how that all plays out and what exactly had all happened there.
And now we see many of the leaders who were out on the track still when that caution came out, now coming down pit road. Willie Everham, Brandon Jackson, Kevin Foster, Ricky Hart Jr., Robert Mathis, all among those drivers coming to pit road here. And then Willie Everham able to get off pit road first as many of these drivers continue their servicing. But an 8-second pit stop for Willie Everham, that's indicative of maybe just a splash of fuel. 2 tires maybe, but I think a 2-tire stop is about 10 seconds. So seeing a variety of strategies here, likely a 0 or 2-tire stop for Willie, and then looks like 4-tire stops most likely for our drivers, all behind them, including Brandon Jackson, Kevin Foster, Ricky Hart Jr., and Robert Mathis, just to name a few. So yeah, from what I observed, kind of just watching pit road there, because I was noting that Nick Nickerson and a few other drivers were coming down. I saw, I think, some contact between the 4 and the 32 of Terry Condis working through the tri-oval there, and looked like this, unfortunately, just kind of 2 lines intersected, and unfortunate to see that happen, and really just a shame there because Trey Ellis was having a great race there, and of course Terry as well, able to get out front early and lead a lap or 2, and unfortunate for them now currently scored 1 and 2 laps down respectively.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier Trey Ellis was on a little bit fresher tires. I believe Terry Condis was on a little bit older tires. Maybe something potentially with that difference between the two ultimately had them collide and caused that incident.
And when we talk about tires, we talk about a speed disparity. At some tracks, it's not that bad. For example, you can probably get away with running old tires versus new tires at, say, Martinsville in certain series. You can get away with that. But at a track like this, where it's all about speed, keeping the car wound up, especially these cup cars, the important thing is keeping these vehicles wound up. And the only way you can do that is with fresh tires, able to grip the track really well. And when you see these tires, an old set of tires versus a new set, kind of the speed differential results in these kind of situations where they kind of, I guess, run up on each other quicker than maybe each driver expected. And then you may see those paths cross and unfortunately end in calamity for both drivers. So right now, still under pacing, 47 laps to go here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the home for the holidays. 100 there as Willie Everham goes for a bit of a ride there had me scared. I was wondering what was going on there. Did a bit of getting those tires warmed up in a unique way, I guess.
Yeah,
But
certainly.
yes.
I was waiting for something else to happen. Looks like he hung on to it. Maybe something with the wheel. Maybe
the
it
wheel disconnected.
Who knows?
Whew, that was scary. I'm sure I was not the only one there who was like breath taken away for a minute as that car went a little wide there, but back under control is Willie Everham. Going to run through the field here, expecting to get one to go for the restart here. And of course, right now we'll wait for the score and the update as we approach the start-finish line here. My data is always sluggish because I wish I had the scoring loops where it just tells me as they're going by and be awesome, but it's just like, nah, fan, we'll tell you when we tell you. Right now, it looks like currently scored as the race leader is going to be Willie Everham, Brandon Jackson back in the second position, Kevin Foster, Ricky Hart Jr., Robert Mathis, the top 5, Jason Greenwell, the 69 of Braden Trojden back there in the 7th position, Alan Castle, and the 00 Marshall Moran back there in the 9th position. And you saw just ahead of this group, the 99, the 19, some cars taking the wave around there. Remember, Nick Nickerson and a few other drivers were on pit road when that caution flag came out, kind of got stuck there, taking the wave around to get back with the group and maintain their time on the lead lap.
Yeah, just as a note, we obviously saw Nick Nickerson pit a little bit early. He had to ultimately have to go to the back because of that. So, tough break for Nick Nickerson here, but I think we'll see him consistently charge up here to the front. We noticed a couple of the hard charges of the race. One in particular, Willie Everham, he started 15th in this race. He's all the way up to the lead here. Unfortunately, he's on older tires right now, as many of the others around him are taking new tires. Another notable driver, Kevin Foster, from 10th all the way up to 3rd. I believe he is on new tires, potentially. But look to see Brandon Jackson make a charge here as well.
So getting ready for the restart, back into the restart zone, and we'll be green. 46 laps to go. Should see that tick over to 45. There it is. 45 laps to go here at Charlotte. Going to see the battle of the new tires versus the old tires. We'll see how it goes here. Brandon Jackson working the outside line on the approach into turn 1 and 2 through the apex and side by side again through the exit of turn 2. One of the first times in this race we've seen multiple grooves of side-by-side racing. The outside getting the prevailing effect on those newer tires is 99. Grabs a position, comes down right in front of the 19. Dirt tracking it, Tokyo drift through the corner, hangs onto it, and keeps us under the green flag. He'll fall back a bit. That could have been a lot more disastrous for the 99 and the many drivers around him.
Yeah, certainly we've seen Brandon Jackson sideways here multiple times at multiple tracks. He knows how to hang on to a loose race car. Ultimately, that's kind of what saved him right there. Able to hang on to the 3rd place position.
Well, we saw another car back there, missed it just out of frame. I was watching the front leaders here battle. Another car going sideways there, so maybe some of these drivers caught off guard by the newer tires, having to settle in here. As you see, the 19 facing a challenge for the 99 on the approach to the tri-oval. We'll grab the spot back going into the entrance to turn 1.
Actually, looked like the 19 of Willie Everham got in the back of Brandon Jackson there into 3. I guess our belief that it was the tire model actually was the bumper model.
The bumper model. Yeah, I saw just a bit of running out of real estate there, but give a call. Back in the day on NBC, you had the Good Hands Driver Award. I think you give the Good Hands Driver Award to 99 there on the restart, getting up to speed, still hung onto that car, and is now racing his way back toward the first position, trying to track down Ricky Hart Jr. in the 64 there.
Yeah, we saw Willie Everham start the restart, and on the front row, he's falling all the way back to 4th position here. He's trying to try and manage those loose tires, just try and do what he can here while he's exposed on those old tires. You see the 64 of Ricky Hart Jr. as well as Brandon Jackson on those new tires. They're battling here for the lead, as well as Kevin Foster. About 1.2 seconds back. Now 1.6 seconds back on our scoring loop.
Yeah, seeing Brandon Jackson reel in the 64 here and doing a great job out here. Again, I'm just blown away by that save there. I know I would not be able to save that. I would have been basically head first to the wall there. Great hands, great awareness, and great calmness behind the wheel for not only Jackson, but those drivers who were all around him battling for position. When he exited the corner there, everyone gave a bit of room there to let him get it gathered back up. And now that's allowing him to try and catch the 64 Ricky Hart Jr. as we cross 40 laps to go here at Charlotte. This race is flying by, and we are expecting to see action continue to pick up as we approach the end.
Yeah, we certainly saw the calamity between Willie Everham and Action Jackson there. Ultimately, it seemed like Willie Everham got in the back of Brandon Jackson. I don't think Brandon Jackson was very happy with that. I believe he had a few words to say after that one.
We'll make sure we hit the. We'll filter those
yeah,
before we broadcast them.
yeah, certainly. We kind of heard some of those words, I believe, but obviously not very happy with what kind of transpired there between him and Willie Everham.
Well, I gotta ask a question. Is his nickname here in the league really Action Jackson? Because I think he's living up to that name, and in the races I've called, he certainly has been a center of some action in the races I've watched with him in them. So living up, I guess, to that nickname.
Yeah, certainly. He's always one to keep an eye on. He started this race all the way back in the 5th position, so he's made up a couple spots over his starting position. He's closing in here on Ricky Hart Jr. and ultimately he's trying to be able to pull off that pass for the lead as we are 63 laps into this race.
Yeah, the pace of this race beginning to pick up here. Now we're seeing a breakaway, 2 cars trying to vie for the lead here, 37 to go. It's a duel between the 99 of Brandon Jackson and Ricky Hart Jr. And for Brandon Jackson, it's been a good season for him. We talked about him still being somewhat in the hunt here for some of the trying to get that 2nd or even 3rd spot. And right now he's trying to track down to 64 so he can get some laps led here. And we look at his season, solid performance so far. After his 15th finish back at Mid-Ohio, went on to win 2 straight races, one Indianapolis and Bristol, and then went on a top 10 streak that continues to this race. Finished 6th last week, 4th at Texas, and another 6th place at Talladega. So again, we talked about it with Kevin Foster, also seeing it with the 99, stringing together a great run to the end of the season. And when you're a driver, that feels good, and that gets you a bit hyped to get back in the car quickly for the start of the next season when you get a great run to close out your season.
Yeah, I think he had a little bit of trouble early in the season. He's using all of that car control that he has here late in the season, and it's paying off for him. He's won at Indianapolis. He's won at a bunch of other tracks, even outside of this series. So I know he's got the talent to be able to pull this off. He's got 33 laps to go here in this race to be able to get around Ricky Hart Jr. Obviously, Ricky Hart Jr. is our points champion, but ultimately, Brandon Jackson wants to steal this win away from him. Kind of ultimately as a show of respect and ultimately show his the prestige of this series.
Absolutely. I think when a driver can try and unseat a champion who's running for the race win here, like we're seeing develop between Ricky Hart Jr. and Brandon Jackson, it sends a competitive message too that, yes, I understand that you are the champion, but just don't forget that we're just as competitive as you, and we're going into a fresh season here. Everyone gets a clean slate. So look out for me as we go into the next season. So I think having a performance like we're seeing out of Brandon Jackson as we approach the end of this race in this final third now at this event, I think this sends a message to the likes of Ricky Hart Jr. and even the drivers who are around him in points saying, don't count me out of this picture yet. I may not be contending for the championship title tonight, but don't count me out next season. I might be right there with you guys next season.
Yeah, I very much expect him to be there contending for the championship, especially next year. These 2 guys are on equal tires. They're staying about equal distance over the last few laps over each other. Ricky Hart Jr.'s not been able to pull away. Brandon Jackson's about a quarter of a second behind, just about 3 car lengths right there on the back of Ricky Hart Jr. Just trying to ever so subtly close that gap as we go into 3 here. It's like Brandon Jackson kind of running about the same line as Ricky Hart Jr., maybe slightly lower. It looks like Brandon Jackson tends to run a little bit lower through the center of the corner, and Ricky Hart Jr. likes to make a larger radius through that corner. So it's kind of a big equalizer here, is being able to run with 2 different lines or 3 different lines here of this course.
As we settle into this long green flag run, further back from that great battle we're seeing for the lead, 3/10 between those 2 drivers, Nickerson, someone we had kind of been watching through the first half of this race, now struggling to get back through this field here, struggling to get back forward, still running back there in the 7th position, kind of stuck between Kevin Foster, about a second ahead of him and about a second back is a 69 car there. So really struggling to find that pace to get back toward the front here. Maybe not the car he wanted in traffic, maybe better out front, but right now he's got to try and work his way through some traffic to get back up there first, and sitting right now idle in the 6th position.
one of our relative newcomers, Jason Greenwell, there in the 52 car. He's running up in the third position. He had a little bit of a, I guess, not a slump, but a little bit of issue on the first lap, I believe, of Homestead. Obviously, he was very green to our series. Ultimately got into the wall early, but able to pull off a very good run late in that race. Ultimately, I think he's trying to improve on that here with this race and try and contend for that win here tonight.
Yeah, he was able to rally for an 8th place finish there at Homestead, and when you're able to get a finish like that after having kind of a rough start to your race, like we talk about motivation and momentum. Those are not cliches when you're running and racing here. Those kind of things get you excited. They get you ready to go to the car here, and you see the 52 solid pace for him.
All right, and a little bit of technical difficulties here, so I'm going to be commentating for right now until we can get those guys back. We're going to head to our Skype for just 1 second there. Of course, you see Ricky Hart Jr. and Brandon Jackson. They're battling 1-2 right now. $74 laps down out of 100. Sorry that you're missing a little bit of it. There's some more of our guys on Skype. You can see Ricky Hart Jr., Brandon Jackson, of course. We also got Matt Crockett, Nick Nickerson, and Jason Greenwell over there. Heading back to our main screen, though. Back to some of the action. Of course, up front, we've got Ricky Hart Jr.
For the 8 of Kevin Foster, and now moving into the 5th spot is the 2 of Nick Nickerson. He's had to restart this run in the 10th position. He's up to 5th. See if he can close in here late and ultimately get up to these leaders.
And keeping an eye on pit road, saw Robert Mathis make his way down pit road here. Looked like he had an issue getting off pit road, so likely facing a potential penalty there. Came off pit road and rose above the line there, and unfortunately seeing maybe they had an issue getting off pit road. We'll see if that does result in a penalty here, but I know it can be very treacherous here. Yep, he's coming down pit road to rejoin the pit road area after having an issue exiting there. Very tricky pit road to try and exit because you're coming off the line there where it tells you where you can get up to speed, and you're on new tires. It can be a challenge to keep that car reined down onto that lower apron surface, and saw a bit of a challenge there for him as the 19 as well of Willie Everham also makes his pit stop.
Looks like our 3rd place runner, Jason Greenwell, is making his final pit stop. These guys are pitting with 24 laps to go, so I think they'll be able to run all the way here to the end on this final fuel tank. So I think we'll see some of these guys play some pit strategy here, and ultimately it's going to set them up here for the final stage of this race.
Solid 13-second pit stop for Nick Nickerson as he exits pit road cleanly, rejoining the track back on the backstretch. So now you're going to see these green flag pit stops play a vital role in determining a race winner. We talked about it in the lead up to this race, and when we got underway, having effective pit stops, getting on and off pit road, effectively not making mistakes, particularly exiting pit road, as you don't want to commit an unsafe pit exit. We saw that already occur with a couple of drivers, and we saw most recently Robert Mathis have some issues there in the 29, keeping that car below the blue and white line, forced to come back down pit road and serve a penalty, which when you have a green flag race like this, can pretty much put you in a pretty big hole to try and maybe get yourself out of without getting a caution.
Yeah, we watch these leaders duel it out here late in the race. The one thing that's going to set them apart is how well they get onto this pit road. Will Brandon Jackson or will Ricky Hart Jr. be able to come down pit road, make a clean pit stop, and get out of the pit road as cleanly, as well as what lap are they going to come down? So it looks like Brandon Jackson's making the move to come down pit road. I
think he's the first one to blink in that group. Yeah, he'll be the first one to go ahead and blink here, and we talk about this is the money stop. We talk about it when we're watching the real-life counterparts in NASCAR and any motorsport. This is a stop where you need to hit your marks and be perfect because you're contending for a win here. You need to outplay and outperform your opponents if you want to try and win here, and that's going to be the situation for the likes of Brandon Jackson, Ricky Hart Jr., even Kevin Foster, even the 69 as well as they come down pit road here. This is the money stop. You need to be perfect here. We'll see if they can pull it off.
Yeah, certainly they pit one lap from each other. Ultimately, Brandon Jackson's going to get on fresher tires one lap earlier than then Ricky Hart Jr., maybe that'll allow him to close the gap here, potentially leapfrog him here for the lead. But Ricky Hart Jr. will have 1 lap fresher tires, so that might be an advantage here late in the run.
We'll see how that works out as Kevin Foster still on the track here, entering turns 3 and 4. We'll see if that car makes the attitude adjustment toward pit road. Does not that time, and he'll continue to cycle around here, approaching about 30 laps into his run.
We just saw the 99 of Brandon Jackson have to pass a few lap cars. He got around the 10 of Matt Crockett, as well as the 35 Wesley Fuller. They are both 1 lap down. They're racing for the 8th position.
And as the 99...
Up 1 lap down.
As the 99 exits turn 2, he will grab the spot away from the 64 and race hard toward turns 3 and 4. Great pit stop for him. You can tell that likely the 99 had a much better entrance on the pit road, was able to grab track position, maybe a more conservative pit stop for the 64, able to get out front and capitalize and get the position late in this race, 18 laps to go.
Yeah, one thing I think Brandon Jackson noticed is that he was not able to close there late in the run. So he realized that to make the time, he had to make all the time early in the run. So that's what he did. He got on fresh tires earlier. He made a good pit stop, and ultimately it's put him out front here late in the race. Obviously, we've got a few drivers who haven't pit yet, like the 8 of Kevin Foster, Marshall Moran, as well as Alan Castle and Nick Nickerson. But it's kind of allowed a few of these drivers to potentially leapfrog. I believe Nick Nickerson has actually gotten on pit road a bit earlier than these 2 drivers, but he's on slightly used tires compared to these. Yeah, certainly. So we're getting word he pitted about 7 laps ago. So ultimately he's going to be on a little bit older tires, so we're going to see these 2 drivers close in on him here late in this run.
And now as the drivers, the presumptive leaders, approach turns 1 and 2, they're quickly closing up from the back bumper of our current race leader, Kevin Foster, and wasting no time. They're going to go around the attack here, try to track down that 8 car. High side will be Brandon Jackson in 99 to 64. Going to follow suit here, grabbing the position on the outside, getting themselves unlapped as they work across start-finish line here. And now when we talk about this race, now this position have flip-flopped. Now Brandon Jackson, as if everything cycles around as it's expected, he'll be the race leader, now forced to play defense against the 64, your champion for the current season, Ricky Hart Jr.
Yeah, we're seeing Ricky Hart Jr. close in on the back of Brandon Jackson right now. They know this is the last run of the race. There's only 14 laps to go. The 64 is about 5 car lengths back of the 99 here. This might potentially be the race for the lead here late. Obviously, Nick Nickerson is about 2 seconds ahead of these 2, but these guys are closing fast. So we'll see where they all stack up here in about 10 or so laps. We'll have a real duel on our hands.
Absolutely. Kevin Foster, relinquishing the lead, heads to pit road to go ahead and make his final stop of the race as well. So we're setting you guys up for what should be an exciting finish here between 2 of the stars of the Bandit Racing League. Our champion coming in, crossed that start-finish line, actually just started the engine and got going, won the championship there. And then one of the stars of this league, Brandon Jackson, looking to make a statement here at the end of the season, staking his claim, saying, don't count me out next season. I may not be racing you for the championship tonight, but don't expect that to be the case next season. Out front right now, likely will cycle around as the race leader as we continue to wait for everyone to complete their pit stops on this current cycle.
Yeah, I think the 99 of Brandon Jackson's going to do everything he can here to hold off 64 of Ricky Hart Jr. Nick Nickerson's going to try and hold them both off here on 7-lap older tires. I'm not sure if that's going to be able to happen here, as these guys are closing in somewhere around 6 to 7 tenths a lap over the 2 of Nick Nickerson.
They are flying right now. You saw that sheer speed down the backstretch between the 2 of the 99. The 99 and the 64. They caught the 2. And now exiting turn 4, going into the tri-oval, already on the back bumper here. The pace, the tire disparity, already present in these tires here. You see them just quickly on the side there, side by side, through turns 1 and 2. The 99 and the 64 there, looked like 64 tried to maybe use the 2 car to his advantage, not able to do it there. Now nose to tail as they approach 3 and 4.
So Ricky Hart Jr. is trying to make a move here on the 99 of Brandon Jackson, not able to do so into 3 and 4. He gains on him through the center, goes high out of 4, gets to his outside, gets to the outside quarter panel, and they drag race down the front straightaway. Brandon Jackson beats into the line here with 10 laps to go in this race. They're side by side through 1 and 2.
Great side-by-side battle here as we approach the conclusion of this race. The high side, the preferred groove for the 64, committing to the low side, the 99 of Brandon Jackson. We'll see which one prevails here, going deep into the corners, the 99, trying to maintain his pace with the 64. Not going to be able to hold it through the apex, and will slip in line behind him on the exit. Coming to the start-finish line, it'll be 10 laps to go here in the Home for the Holidays 100.
64, Ricky Hart Jr. has 1 lap pressure tires than the 99 of Brandon Jackson. So Brandon Jackson's really going to have to dig deep here if he wants to be able to win this race. Ultimately, he's going to be fighting an uphill battle. Ricky Hart Jr. has the real pace with those pressure tires. So we're going to have to see Brandon Jackson dig deep here, especially late in this run. He's got about 9 laps to go here at the line to be able to do it.
I think one of the things we saw during the earlier run was the ability for Brandon Jackson to be able to close up on the back bumper to 64 and get there when the tires were pretty fresh. I noticed he had some challenges toward the end of that run. We'll see if he's able to overcome those. Maybe he learned something about how the car handles and is able to use that as we get ready to conclude our race here. 9 laps to go as they work down the backstretch past the giant TV monitor. They're going to try and he's going to try and track him down here, but the deficit's slowly growing here as they exit turn 4. It'll likely be about a half a second between the 64 and the 99 with 8 laps to go.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is that Ricky Hart Jr. seems to kind of open up the corner a little bit more than Brandon Jackson. Not so much there that time, but on entry of 3 and 4, he seems to run a little bit wider arc and a little bit higher on the exit of the corners, and that's kind of allowing him to free up the car and channel that momentum around this track as Brandon Jackson's trying to fight the difference in those tires, and ultimately I believe his car is a little bit understeery right now, so it's definitely not helping his pace.
With 7 laps to go, the race for the final podium spot back there in third has really quieted down as Nick Nickerson is about 2.5 seconds behind the race leader Ricky Hart Jr. and it is about 7 seconds, nearly 8, going back to Jason Greenwell in the 52 car, and then Kevin Foster about 2 seconds behind him in the 8th and 5th spot. So seeing Nick Nickerson now have a great position between himself and the 52 and even the 8th right now as we approach the conclusion of this race. Coming to 6 laps to go, crossing the line, getting that. This race is quickly approaching the end, and we still don't quite know who's going to win here, but Ricky Hart Jr. trying to send a message back, grabbing the track position now, 1.1, now 2 seconds ahead of Brandon Jackson.
Yeah, we noticed that the 8 of Kevin Foster there in the 5th position, he pitted really late into this run. So one of the things he's looking for is trying to make up some time here. I think he's going to get to the 52 Jason Greenwell, but I'm not sure if he's able to get to the 2 of Nick Nickerson here late and potentially pull off a podium finish. But we'll look at how fast he is here late and kind of be able to determine that.
That'd be a tall order to try and close up 9 seconds here, but certainly he's going to put a challenge there on the 52, Jason Greenwell, going into turn 1. The challenge has been taken and won by Foster on the exit of 2. That'll move him up into the 4th spot with 5 laps to go. Still has a lot of work to do if he wants to try and catch the likes of the 2 car, about 9 seconds ahead of him as we get 4 laps to go. The battle at the front beginning to cool down as well, as now 1.3 seconds ahead is Ricky Hart Jr. over Brandon Jackson. About 3 seconds back from them is Nick Nickerson in the 2 car. Yeah,
ultimately the 8 of Kevin Foster, he's closing in at about half a second a lap over the leaders, but I believe his laps are going to run out here as we got 4 laps to go in this race.
And now as we approach the conclusion here, let's go back and talk about something with Ricky Hart Jr. We talked about how many wins he has, 6 wins coming into tonight's race, and many of those wins coming on the likes of a 1.5-mile oval. Looking at the data, he has 3 wins on those tracks: Atlanta, Las Vegas, Texas. There's a theme here. He likes winning on these tracks owned by the same company, and he's doing that here again, potentially going to win at the sister track as he comes around to take 2 laps to go here shortly, showing tremendous pace on the 1.5-mile ovals. His worst finish on these tracks is 7th, which he gained last week. Here, as now we get the yellow flag, and I'm gonna go and throw my notes in the air because that kind of just throws everything through a loop here as we get the yellow with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, you're gonna see these guys, I believe, come down here and finish off a couple of the final laps. You might see a green-white checkered here with the amount of laps that we have left. It's really going to present some action here late. I believe that these guys have used up all of their sets of tires, so I don't believe they'll be able to come down and pit for any tires or anything. We're just going to have to run heads up. And the person with the freshest tires, the 8, Kevin Foster. It's going to make it really interesting here late.
Is this caution my fault for talking about the green flag run? Is this the commentator's curse coming through, putting us under the yellow flag with only a few laps left?
Well,
I take
it
full
seems like if you
responsibility.
watch any of these races or any NASCAR race, it always seems to come down to a green, white, checkered, at
That's
least
right.
probably 50-50, at least
That's right.
50% of the time. So nothing new here, just one of those things, presenting a shootout here at the end of this race.
So right now, as we get set up here, we'll get you that replay footage getting set up for that. We'll see exactly what happened here to put us under the yellow flag with only a few laps left in this race. Seemed like some action there maybe on the backstretch. A little bit racy there. Looks like maybe the 53 and Tony Hilbrand maybe were involved in a bit of a collision there down the backstretch. So yeah, still under caution here. Going to get likely the green, white checker here. Says 3 to go, so that means we'll get the green flag, then the white flag, and then the checkered flag. You'll see all the flags. The flag man's going to get a workout here tonight. As we always say, we'll see him get a workout here and get these guys to the finish of what was an exciting race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Drama to the end, drama down the backstretch, putting us back under caution here, and now should be an exciting finish here. You talked about it. Brett brought it up. Great insight and great analysis from him. Tires aren't a thing anymore. Not many drivers have extra sets here. They probably burned through them all, but the freshest tires belong to our wily veteran Kevin Foster back there in the 4th spots.
Yeah, certainly he was the latest to pit of all these drivers, so he's starting there in the 2nd row. I believe he's starting 4th. I'm not sure exactly which row. I believe Ricky Hart Jr. is going to start on the bottom, so I think we might see Kevin Foster here start on the outside, from what I gather. But he does present the biggest challenge to these front runners, as he has somewhere around 8 to 10 lap pressure tires, I believe, than the rest of these guys.
This is setting up to be an exciting finish here. What a great way to even end the season here in the Bandit Racing League. Getting a great duel to the end. A bunch of our stars here in the Bandit Racing League able to put on a great 2-lap shootout for you guys, and expecting to get that 1 to go signal. Not just yet. Exciting stuff here. I always love a great green white checker. I don't like being on the end of it if I'm out front by like 5 seconds and then it comes out. I don't like that, but as a commentator, I love being able to see these guys grit up and get ready for an exciting drag race to the finish here. Seeing some drivers get back in the picture here. Also, Willie Everham led laps earlier after getting the undercut, and then it kind of didn't work out for him the way he wanted to. Back up in the 5th spot to 69. All getting back in the picture here. We're going to see which of these drivers is able to show their stuff better, be able to get a better job, a better restart, and a better entrance into turn 1. I think that's going to be the key here. Who is able to get their car to speed and get that great launch into 1 and exit the trial safely and avoid getting that challenge down into the backstretch?
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to be able to predict this one, but I'm looking at the 99 as well as the 64 on the front row. They're certainly going to be charging down in the 1 and 2. Charging down in the 3 and 4 on the first lap of this green, white checkered. But one of the cars to keep an eye on here is that 8 car. 8 cars on the freshest tires. He's going to be starting here on the outside. I think he's going to be trying to make a big, bold move here on the outside of 1 and 2 here on the restart and try and pull off the victory here on the green, white checkered.
I mean, back in the day, the motto for Ford was bold moves, so it's fitting that Kevin Foster is behind the wheel of a Ford while he does it. So maybe he's going to take the old motto of the Ford Motor Company into a Hart there and try and grab a victory here. And this is going to be an exciting finish. I'm looking forward to seeing how these drivers approach this. We've seen how powerful the outside line can be for these drivers on restarts, particularly the ones starting on the front row. We've seen Ricky Hart Jr. and even Willie Everham able to get out front and get that launch in the middle of the tri-oval and then drop down to the low side and get the momentum going. The difference here is they'll be on older tires, so the challenge will be trying to get that car to grip the way you want it to on that inside line without it sliding up and pushing the nose on exit. And this time you might be facing a challenge from a driver on the outside of you as you're pushing up the track. So who's going to be the first one to blink and let out of the gas here? A lot of different things shaping up for our restart as we get ready going into overtime here. 103 laps in. Again, green, white, checkered. We'll take the green flag, then the white flag, and the checkered flag. And that will conclude our season here. Who's going to win? Well, we already know who our champion is going to be. The 64 of Ricky Hart Jr. He will assume the championship from our reigning champion right now, Kevin Foster, and he will join an illustrious list of drivers. We talked about Jonathan Platt, winner at Martinsville earlier this season. Cody Webster, also one of your championship winners here in the Bandit Racing League, and also Daniel Grace. So likely tonight, not even likely, expected tonight, Ricky Hart Jr. will be our next champion here in the Bandit Racing League. But we got 2 more laps before the season's over. Who's going to come out on top here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Home for the Holidays 100? Strap in. Let's see who makes a bold move here on the restart. The field under the control of the 64 of Ricky Hart Jr. approaching the restart zone. Green flag back in the air. You see the 64, great launch for him. Still engaged in a duel just behind him, a row back. The 8 fighting with the 2 car, Nick Nickerson, on their approach into turns 1 and 2. Single file pretty quickly there. Kevin Foster back in the 4th spot. Now the job will be of those 3 cars behind the 64. Try and track down that 64, moving to the inside, breaking up the aerodynamics for those cars behind them is the 64. Working through turn 3 and 4. One more time, they'll have to do that again. Coming to the white flag this time, side-by-side battle behind them for 3rd spots as we take the final white flag here in the Bandit Racing League. Side-by-side for 3rd spot, single file right now through 1 and 2 for the lead.
So Kevin Foster go to the outside through 1 and 2, pulls off the pass for 3rd. We'll see if he's able to get to the outside of Brandon Jackson here for the 2nd spot as they enter 3 and 4. He dives down to the inside.
Action Jackson making a bold move. Coming to the line here around. Hard contact between the 99 and the 8 there crossing the line. Wrecking across the line will be those vehicles. But the winner will be Ricky Hart Jr. coming to the line. A crash between drivers fighting for the 3rd spot there.
Yeah, ultimately just 2 drivers going for the same spot here late. Battling for the number 2 position. We see these guys round 1 and 2 as they head into 3 and 4. Kevin Foster makes the dive down to the inside, tries to get to the inside of Brandon Jackson. Brandon Jackson pins him down. Kevin Foster gasses it back up, gets to the back bumper. Brandon Jackson swoops to the inside. Brandon Jackson hits the wall. Kevin Foster into the outside wall, flips end over end down the front straightaway as we conclude this race. But ultimately, the 64 of Ricky Hart Jr. has won here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
So yeah, huge crash there for the 8 car. Will flip across the line. He will cross the line there and finish the race, but not on the in the spot he was maybe hoping for. Looking, he will be scored in the 8th position. You know, that corner there when you're exiting turn 4, it's really weird. When you slap the wall there at speed, it kind of just ping pongs you back across the tri-oval there into the path of another car. It's very common to see that, and kind of seems like what happened there is just the 99 hard on the attack there, facing a challenge from the 8. Gets in the wall there and kind of just launches you in the direction in which you were kind of aiming the wheel there and just shoots you off in the direction. We saw the hard contact between the 99 and the 8 coming across the line there as Ricky Hart Jr. wins the race and also the championship here in the Bandit Racing League.
Yeah, we saw that late race wreck there with Kevin Foster as well as Brandon Jackson, ultimately ending in Kevin Foster tumbling down the front straightaway. Very reminiscent of a wreck, very similar with Davey Allison and Kyle Petty here in the late 80s at the Winston here at Charlotte. But here we're watching Ricky Hart Jr. do his burnouts. We saw Nick Nickerson do his burnouts. He finished 2nd here tonight, ultimately passing those 2 down here to the line when they collided. So simultaneous burnouts here for our winner as well as our 2nd place finisher.
I'm sure that burnout for the 64 is extra sweet, knowing that you won the race and you also won the championship. I mean, when you're in a format where you don't have to necessarily, I guess, win, you have to win the race to win the championship, there's an extra sweetness there. Back when I would watch NASCAR, it was always great to see the driver who's going for the championship also win the race down there at Homestead. I don't know, just adds an extra sweetness there because you're getting 2 trophies. You're getting that race trophy and the winning championship trophy. So always great to be able to finish the season out with not only a win, but also the championship as well. So again, congratulations to Ricky Hart Jr. capping off what was a spectacular season. 7 wins this season.
So ultimately, we'll have our top 3 in for some post-race interviews here with Ricky Hart Jr., Nick Nickerson, and Brandon Jackson. First, we'll go to Brandon Jackson here.
Hey, boys, how's it going?
Good, sir. How are you?
I honestly don't know.
It seemed like you had a pretty wild race out there. I mean, I was floored at the save you made there, the contact between the 19 and yourself, able to hang on to that thing. Man, you went for some rides out here tonight, but still able to get the 3rd place finish. Walk us through your race.
Yeah, first half of the race pretty much went about normal for the league. You know, got to save your tires. Saved tires pretty well at the start. Was able to work my way up through the field. Past a couple guys, I think I was in 2nd or 3rd when we had the couple cautions come out. Then running 2nd behind Ricky, and I kind of figured, I was like, you know, I was going to pit before him, pit 1 lap. I knew lap 80 was like the money lap for when guys would pit. Mm-hmm. I pitted a lap early to get in front of him, which worked, and then caught a lapper at a bad place, and then I caught Nick at a really bad time. Rick was able to get a run, and at that point, he had the outside, and the momentum carried him right around me. And yeah, I don't know what the 19 was doing on that restart, but that is what it is. I was able to save it. The car was down on straightaway speed, and I could tell. But at the end there, it's hard fighting, man. Coming to the line, I had to do what I had to do for points, and Kevin had to do what he had to do. So it all comes down to just straight hard racing there at the end. Frustrating, very. Needed to get in front of Nick for points reasons, but other than that, man, it's just good, hard, long fought season. Really, I don't know how to feel, man.
Yeah, certainly we saw you battling with Ricky Hart Jr. early in the race. It came down to you 2 there before the final caution flag late. Ultimately, Kevin Foster looked like he had the freshest tires out of all you, but was not able to make or pull it off. But what was kind of going through your head there on that last restart? I know you were about 1 lap older tires than Ricky Hart Jr. You had Kevin Foster there behind you with about 5 lap fresher tires, as well as Nick Nickerson. What was kind of going through your head on that last restart? Obviously, you were trying to charge there and get up there past Ricky, but what was kind of going through your head there in that last sequence?
Going to the green, I had tried on the caution first year restarts, and they worked pretty well for me. Didn't get as good as a jump as I wish I did on that last restart. Ricky was able to clear me, and felt like I could have hawked him down, but I really messed up turn 1, overdrove it a little bit, and I saw Kevin in the mirror with a massive run, and just had to throw the block at that point. At that point, I had to fight for seconds. There was no way I was going to catch Ricky. It's really hard to pass guys that are pretty much on your same lap tires after about 10 laps. Kevin had a massive run. I had to throw the block on him. He did what he had to do. And then coming out of turn 4, I honestly can't tell you what happened. All I know is I got hooked. So I've heard of moving a guy. Don't know what you want to do if you wreck a guy. And pretty much all hell breaks loose coming out of 4 down the front straightaway. Still managed to come in 3rd. Don't know how. Probably need to go to the hospital. But other than that, good race. Congrats, Ricky, for being the champion and finishing out in the last race with another win. So congrats to him. Wish I could have got him, man. I felt like it was gonna come down to either me or him there, and unfortunately, he was able to beat me once again.
Before we wrap up, I'm sorry.
That is Brandon Jackson, your 3rd place runner. Ultimately, net code there, I believe, potentially late on that last turn, last lap caution. Might have to go visit Kevin Foster there in the hospital. Anybody you want to thank here for this series?
I gotta thank Bill putting on the league. Great job he's done. Can't wait for next season. Got to thank the admins and pretty much everybody else, man. Everybody has played such a massive part this year. We knew our numbers were down. We were trying to get them back up. It's holiday season. So I want to thank everybody in that regards. I got to thank Evan and Michael. You guys put on a fantastic broadcast. Michael, good to see you. Can't wait to have you all next season. Brett, appreciate you being a race director and commentator. So appreciate you all. And I think Michael had one more question for me.
Yeah, I just had one question because I was looking at the numbers before going into this race, and you had a great season. I mean, you got those 2 wins in a row after Mid-Ohio. You got Indianapolis in the bag, got Bristol, and he went on a nice run of top 10 finishes. Does this give you momentum going into next season, even though we're changing cars going into the Xfinity vehicles?
Yeah, it's always good to have momentum, whether it's finishing good or winning races. It's great to have momentum. I feel like this Xfinity car though is going to be a massive. It's pretty much like we're all learning a new car. We've raced a handful of months now in this Cup car, and we're hopping into the Xfinity car in about a month and a half. So it's going to take a big learning curve. I feel like that's going to even out the field, but I feel like give or take 3-4 races in, man, once again, you'll start to see the same few guys up there at the front start to run away and start to pull points out. So Xfinity car it's going to be really interesting. Way different style of driving than having to drive this race car.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you answering my questions. And again, congratulations on a great season for you and a solid podium finish for yourself. Great job.
Appreciate it. Hope you all enjoyed the show.
Yo. You got me?
Oh, yes. Always good to hear from our drivers. I zoned out. I'm so sorry. I zoned out for a minute. Nick Nickerson, second place here at Charlotte. Great run for you. Kind of started toward the front there, faded back a bit, able to get back toward the front. Walk us through your race. What was it like for you out here at Charlotte and home for the Holidays 100?
Man, I definitely had like the speed, the raw speed, but I just couldn't manage my tires like Ricky and Brandon could. It's just they figured something that I haven't quite clicked with, and my tires just weren't able to keep up with them after 10 laps or so. But fortunately, I had just enough speed to keep up with them enough to where I can stay in second place in the points. That was kind of my goal. I wasn't really worrying about winning the race unless I had the opportunity. Other than that, I was just trying to manage the fuel, make sure I didn't speed on pit. Just trying to come away with a clean top 6 minimum.
Yeah, we saw you middle of the race there, I believe. You caught a caution there that didn't end up benefiting you. You ended up falling back to about 10th on the restart. What was kind of going through your head there as you're trying to make your way back ultimately up here to the second spot?
Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that kind of sucked. Worst time for a caution to come out, and I was watching it as I was driving down pit road.
Oh, that's
insult to injury, So, yeah, I think it came out, and I started, I think it was like 11th or 12th or something, and, I was just trying to pick them off one at a time. I knew I could probably get up to top 5, and I did. It's kind of I think I spun somebody on accident. It looked like they were giving me the inside, and they didn't. So, I think that was Marshall, but he was able to save it, fortunately. And, yeah, I just kind of tried to pick them off one at a time and made my way all the way back up.
Yeah, you've had a great season so far overall. I mean, I know you very well and your abilities on road courses and how well you do there. You got 2 wins, one at Sonoma, one at Mid-Ohio, and then it seemed like you finally got that W on the 1.5 mile ovals after the rough race at Texas. That kind of maybe feels like that one that got away. You had a great run toward the end of the season here, a string of top 10s going all the way back to Martinsville. How does this run you went on at the end help you going into next season?
Man, well, I'll say this is the first. I love this league so much because of the tire rule and the fast repairs, because it's an element that you just don't get with iRacing. Like, in most every other league in official races, it's all like yellow flag, brand new tires, no questions asked. And this really puts this extra element into it that helps you with official racing. With saving your tires and being there at the end. And yeah, I just love it. And I've had a lot of growing pains with that, the saving tires. I'm always making. In the beginning, first half of the season, I made a lot of stupid mistakes, like crossing the line, exiting pit road, or speeding in pit, or just smacking the wall when I really shouldn't have. Just a little stuff like that. And I still got to work on some of that stuff, but all in all, it was definitely a good season. Kind of missing Garrett. I wanted to see what was going to play out with that, because he was the guy I was racing for the points, and he didn't show up today. Bad on him, but yeah, man. All in all, good season.
Yeah, fantastic season for you, and I think that wraps up my questions for you. Again, congratulations on what was a great year for you. Of course, I know you very well, the road course race, but getting the job done on the road course is always good to see, and congratulations on getting that oval win as well and finishing second here. Great conclusion to your season.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I guess I'll close out and saying, man, just thanks everybody for participating in this league, and everybody in the booth here. Man, you guys do such an awesome job. It's always fun to watch the races when I get a moment the next day, and I look forward to doing it again next year.
We look forward to seeing you out there. Congratulations again.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
And now the man of the hour, our race winner here, the Home for the Holidays 100, and also, most importantly, your season champion, inheriting it from Kevin Foster, your new season champion here in the Bandit Racing League, Ricky Hart Jr. Congratulations. First off, congratulations on what has been a stellar season. 7 wins, unprecedented here. Let's start with the race, and then we can look at your season. So talk us through your race here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. How was it for you?
That was great. I won.
The best kind of race, eh? Can't beat that.
I mean, it was fun. I mean, I got the pole, led a bunch of laps, had some great side-by-side racing with a lot of guys, Nick, Willie, Brandon. Everybody seemed to be up there giving me a run for my money. I know they didn't want me to get it today. They didn't want me to get it all year, but I was having fun out there with those guys. Real just on the edge of my seat. Like I could feel myself gripping the wheel a little bit harder, especially there towards the end when I was racing with Brandon, and then getting that late race caution. That was not cool. It started happening when I started smiling inside. I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm going to get it. And then boom, caution. I guess that's how it always works out. But I was able to hold on and bring it home. It's a good race.
You were able to outrun Brandon Jackson there on that late race run, and ultimately you were trying to get to the finish line, obviously before a caution happened. When we had a caution come out with a few laps to go and a green-white checkered, we had you, Nickerson, Brandon Jackson, as well as Kevin Foster with the freshest tires of all, ultimately trying to make a charge, but was kind of going through your head on that last restart, just trying to get to the finish line first.
Well, all of us were talking just before that, and I knew that Kevin was on fresher tires. I knew Nick was a little fresher, and me and Brandon were just about even. So every restart, when I was up in the lead earlier, I was going right at the beginning of the restart zone, and I was kind of playing a game. I was doing it on purpose, waiting for, to switch it up. And this time, I went a little bit before. I was like, all right, I'm jumping it. Try to get out front, hold up front. I know if I could at least get there, make the car wide enough for Kevin and Nick when they ultimately got to the bumper. At least that's what I was thinking was going to happen. Make the car wide enough and just keep them behind me and be able to make it to the end. Brandon did it. Seemed like he did most of the dirty work there for me at the end and kept those guys in the back. And that restart really helped me out.
So one thing I noticed is, and the last time we talked to Texas, I like running numbers. I like talking about data, and man, you really have a thing for running these sister tracks. I mean, you won at Atlanta, you won at Las Vegas, you won at Texas, and you won at Charlotte. Do you have a deal with these track owners to win at these specifically owned tracks? Because you seem to be putting on a show here in these 1.5 mile overs in general, but so you've won at so many different tracks, but yet they're all owned by the same person.
I was going to say, who is that? Burton Smith?
Yes.
Bruton? Yeah. Yeah, no comment. I'm not going to mention. I wish he was giving me some money. That'd be dope.
But again, you've had a tremendous season here. You've your worst finish is 7th, and that took all the way to last week to get here. 14 starts, 14 top 10s, 13 top 5s. What can you even say about that performance for you through the season? It wasn't just consistent, it was consistent from beginning to end for you en route to this championship.
I've been on iRacing for 8 years. I've been doing it for a long time. For the past couple of years, the only thing I've been running is the NIS on Thursday nights. So when this season came along, it was like, hey, we're running the NIS car on Wednesday nights. I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's go. Let's do it. So, I mean, the cookie cutter tracks, as you know, in a regular NASCAR season, I don't even know, what are you running, like 10 to 16 of those tracks throughout the year? Yeah, like if you're good at the mile and a half, you're basically winning the championship.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all that experience just added up. It culminated to this champion season that I had, and I had a thought there, and I'm just excited. I don't know what to say. The mile and a half, so did a great job.
Kind of a follow up on top of that, next season we're transitioning to the Xfinity car, and you said you ran a lot of the NIS series, which features these cup cars. What is your experience with the Xfinity car, and how do you feel in terms of, I guess, your knowledge base going into the next season? Do you feel you'll be able to kind of jump right in and get back into your current form, or is it going to take some time for you to get settled in to that different machine?
I hate that car. It's tight. It drives like a dump truck. At least for me, I don't know. Like we were going to the truck's a lot looser. The Xfinity car is just tight. But this NIS car, yeah, it sort of did the same thing. I mean, years ago, it was loose. You couldn't hit the throttle like in Atlanta on the front stretch. You would just start getting loose. It's changed a lot since then. I think that car is a lot closer to what this car is now. And I think going in the next season, I'm definitely going to have an advantage, or at least a leg up in the beginning. I hope so. You're good.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on you, definitely. I think that takes care of my questions on my end, but I'll go ahead and just wrap up by saying, again, congratulations on a great run here, to come in and kind of just learn about your driving accolades here in the league and to see the absolute domination you put on here. The numbers don't lie, and I love numbers. I love running them. To see the consistent performance here, that really does send a message going into next season that you'll be one to watch, even going into a car you maybe don't care for. I think you'll still be the one everyone has their eyes on going into next season. So congratulations on 7 wins and a championship.
Feels great. Thank you. Man, it feels good. Can't believe I did it. 7 wins too. That's just amazing. I had a great time this season. I made some friends. All these guys. I didn't really talk to a lot of these guys before this season. Seems I got a little bit of notoriety going into next season. I think everybody's got me in their crosshairs. But that's all good. Yeah, that's racing. You know, I don't get mad. I never seem to get upset. I never get revenge. I just kind of run my race, and it's a racing deal. Racing is racing. If I get wrecked out next week, hey, it is what it is. We come back the next week and compete for a win. So I appreciate what you guys have done all season. I can't wait to run with you guys again next month. I'm really looking forward to it. Woo! So excited.
Brett, do you have anything for our champion here? I can't believe it. I came in here to be able to call over the last few races here and see the great performance here. I'm already excited for next season. I'll let you take over from here.
Really, I had just joined this back of the series earlier on in the season, and I didn't even really know who Rick Hart Jr. was. I didn't know most of these drivers, honestly, but I do know who they are now, and Rick Hart Jr. is definitely one to watch here, as he has won the championship here in 2020. Ultimately, it's been a difficult year for many of us, and we just like to reach out and make sure everybody's doing okay here in these tough times. But ultimately, Ricky Hart Jr. is our 2020 points champion here in the Bandit Racing Series.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. So excited. Feels good.
Don't party too hard.
I'm only a few in.
All right, stepping in now from your producer booth up here. I'm Evan Wall. Of course, haven't talked too much this race, but gonna come back here, look at our race results right now. Of course, Ricky Hart Jr., your winner, followed by Nick Nickerson and Brandon Jackson. Talk to them. But behind them, 4th place, 19 car of Willie Everham, the 69 of Brandon Trogdon. Then a big shout-out to your 6th and 7th place finisher, the 52 car of Jason Greenwell, one of our newer league members, and the 00 of Marshall Moran, another one of our newer league members, their first race tonight. So a huge shout out to them, and definitely 2 guys to be out on the lookout for next season. So there is, as our final race results are up on the screen, I just want to give a huge thank you, first of all, to Bill Harkins, who runs the Bandit Racing League, and everyone at Bandit Racing League for giving me here at Evan Wall Media an opportunity to broadcast for them and just kind of test my abilities and really just have fun and meet a really good group of guys that run this league. So really happy that I'm able to broadcast for them, and really excited to broadcast the next season in the Xfinity cars as well. So just want to go ahead and say, if you're interested in that, if you're a racer that happens to be watching this, go ahead and look up banditracingleague.com. From there you can get some more information about this page, or about this league, and maybe possibly join it. But for me, I believe that's all I've got. Brett, Michael, do you have anything else left to say before we sign off here for the night?
I think that was a fantastic race and a great way to conclude our season. Green white checkers are always exciting. We saw things come down to the wire there, and I appreciate the faith being put in me from the leaders here to be part of your broadcast team, and I look forward to being back next season.
Yeah, I appreciate you two guys, as well as everybody who's kind of made this all work. Obviously, Bill Harkins is currently back at his job right now. He's currently probably listening to us right now through his headphones. Hope we did you proud, at least for the end of this season, and ultimately you'll see him as well as the rest of us here at the beginning of next season. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Merry Christmas.